All it takes is one bad day to seduce even the sanest man to insanity. One bad day. This is my review of Lamplight Sanitarium. I'm going a completely different route today, and that is because I never really review horror themed modules on this channel, and that is because, well, basically I am scared shitless when it comes to horror themed books and horror films and horror stories, so it's really not my thing. But after seeing the title and the cover, the amazing cover that is Lamplight Sanitarium, created by Matt Corley, for me up until this point quite an unknown person, personally, I saw it and I fell completely in love with it. Everything in here, I mean the kind of artwork, the kind of storytelling, the kind of atmosphere they are creating inside this module is everything I look for in a module. So after laying my hands upon this thing, I immediately fell in love and I needed to review it to you guys. So if you are into madhouse horror and really creepy stuff, or you want to just take your game into a completely different direction, this one's for you. By the way, it's this kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Before I go in depth into this book, I just want to state that the cartography of Lamplight Sanitarium has been nominated for an Annie Award, which are yearly awards for third-party Dungeons & Dragons creators. So the cartography of this book has actually been nominated for an award. You can click the link in the description below and put out your vote, because small creators like this just need your vote to get their products out to the Dungeons & Dragons world. A little bit of background. What is Lamplight Sanitarium? Well, Lamplight is, of course, a sanitarium where insane people with all kinds of diseases go to get cured. And Lamplight, they are actually delivering very good work, and they're well known for their work within the community, with the people. So it's actually a very good place to go if you have money, that is. If you have money, you will be treated very well. There's no problem, and you will probably be cured because it's a very, very good sanitarium. Now, the flip side to that is, and most people don't really know it, there's also a wing to the hospital that actually helps people that don't have money. It's a special wing for poor people that don't have money to get cured, and people that don't have money can go to that wing. There's a little less luxury there, and there's a little less stuff to help, but they try their best. Now, the secret, of course, is that in order to help the rich people, they have to do experiments, really wicked experiments, on the poor. And that is where the adventure and the overall weirdness and bizarreness of this module lies. Now, without further ado, I just want to flip through this book a bit with you to show you what you get in these 200 odd pages that is Lamplight Sanitarium. And I first have to kick off with maybe the best part of this book, and that is the first part. They actually managed to create an entire section on how to make Lamplight Sanitarium fit into your campaign. And I'm talking about making a Lamplight is the first one, and that means just using Lamplight as a setting of its own. But then you get these small chapters, and this is amazing how they did this. It's perfectly well written. So making it an anachronism, making it mythos, making it Ravenloft, making it Midgard even, and there's even making it Ravnica, and there's even making it Eberron, and Victorian even. So they thought about almost every kind of setting of Dungeons and Dragons, how you can fit in a Lamplight Sanitarium into your setting, because well, Lamplight is more of a realistic setting, so there's more fighters and rogues in this setting than there are wizards and dragonborn, and most of the NPCs in here are human. There's maybe one gnome or one dwarf, but most of them are human, so it's not quite a high fantasy setting. So what they did is, for people playing in Midgard, for example, they gave some tips how to fit this Lamplight Sanitarium into that campaign setting, which is pretty amazing and will help out a lot of players that want to run an adventure in Lamplight Sanitarium. Then there is an entire part about the sanitarium itself, and I mean there's a big history part of the sanitarium that you can almost read as a book, like as a dungeon master. If you want to run this module, just sit back, relax with a cup of coffee and just read it, because there's a lot in there you can use for your campaign when you decide to play in here. But also almost every room, like every wing, every hallway, everything of the sanitarium is completely mapped out, and it is described in such a way that you almost feel that you're there. I mean, it's completely creepy described, and there's like all weird things going on. And if you know me, then you know that I really like, in Dungeons & Dragons, I really like a simple black and white artwork, so you can see why I absolutely love this module. And you have to admit that there is nothing as creepy as a small girl with a doll just sitting there staring at you. This is a very big part of the book. I mean, the sanitarium is so huge, it goes up to page 83, where they explain almost every room, almost every hallway, and you can go into the sanitarium and for an adventure, and then go into the sanitarium again for an adventure, for another adventure, and you can see completely different parts of the hospital and completely different adventures, and you can meet completely different NPCs the second time, the third time, and even the fourth time around. I mean, this sanitarium alone is a campaign setting by itself. Then there is a complete chapter about adventuring in Lamplight Sanitarium, and I will deduct 1 point of the total score of this book for reusing this picture. No, I'm just kidding, it's amazing. Now, within the pages where they explain about adventuring in Lamplight Sanitarium, you can not only find some very cool story hooks and some very cool NPCs and points of interest for your players to visit, but there's also 2 very well written pre-made adventures for your players to undergo. Will they find the secret of Lamplight Sanitarium, or will they become patients themselves? Then there is a complete section about optional sanity rules, and it's basically a system where your charisma score plus your wisdom modifier is your maximum sanity, like you have maximum hit points. And there can be events that your players go through that can entice a sanity roll, and if your player fails one of these rolls, their insanity score just drops, and there are of course random rolling tables that can tell you how this insanity for your players translates to that character, sometimes in the short term, small things, and sometimes in the very long term, very huge and game-changing things. It's actually a very simple system, but it is a very well built and simple to understand system that I will actually use in my campaigns outside of Lamplight Sanitarium. So some of the short-term things that can happen to a player are like maybe one limb just stops functioning out of complete fear, or a character can just suddenly be scared of one random object. And some of the long-term things are, there's some really weird things here. Your player, when encountering a certain type of creature, they just start laughing viciously. Or they can have like an eating disorder, and the only way for them to feel good is just to start eating until somebody stops them. But there's also like smaller things, like your player can develop a certain tic or a certain quirk that you, the dungeon master, and the player actually can work together on what it actually will be. Then instead of having magic items, they actually have a section called items of interest. And one of the most ridiculous items of interest that is very cool is actually the Juxta Personalis, which is a wooden box that can send out electricity through a mask to your brain to kind of rewire your brain, and there's a very small chance that you actually get cured from the condition, the insanity condition you are having, and there's a very big chance other weird stuff happens, like your alignment can change, or you can have an other insanity, or it has no effect, or you choose one new personality trait at random. After that, instead of a section that's called monsters, it's called persons of interest, where there are NPCs that work in the hospital, there are people that are actually patients in the hospital, and there's even crazy things to defeat that maybe live in the basement or something that you can defeat as a player, full with stat blocks, with lore, with everything you need as a dungeon master to run this into your campaign. And like I said in the beginning of the video, there is a section with all the maps for the entire sanitarium, and they are drawn in a way that really feels like it's part of the sanitarium, a part of Lamplight Sanitarium as a complete module, because everything in here, all of the artwork, the texts, the titles, everything is very consistent for this campaign setting. And again, these maps are nominated for an award. Link is in the description below. Make sure to cast your vote, because small creators really need that. And that's about it. It's a completely fleshed out, 200 pages of completely fleshed out sanitarium, complete with all the rooms. The entire sanitarium is mapped out. There is amazing amount of NPCs, there is an amazing amount of enemies, there is magic items called well, items of interest, there's persons of interest, there is 2 very good, well-written adventures to start off your campaign in Lamplight Sanitarium. There is optional sanitary rules for your players to go completely insane and maybe get cured if they're a bit lucky. It is written in a very creepy way, and I couldn't do anything else than wear my Joker t-shirt for this video, because the quote in the beginning of this video of course was by Joker himself. I leave the rest of Lamplight Sanitarium for you to discover as a player or as a dungeon master, because there's nothing as cool as just opening a very cool book and just start reading and start discovering this new creepy setting. Now, if you're interested in buying it, the PDF or the hard copy or the soft cover, make sure to do it right now, because via the link in the description below you can get a discount. I just saw it, I have nothing to do with it, but I was just opening the drive-thru RPG link and I saw there was a big discount going on. I think it has something to do with the Annie Awards, but you can now pick up like the hardcover for $35, something like that, instead of like $50. So it's a very good deal. If you do not want like a physical copy, make sure to get the PDF. Now is your chance. If you're into creepy horror, of course. If you want to see any of my other reviews, make sure to click one of these videos right here, and it will, of course, like always, magically teleport you to the right videos. Thank you for still being on my channel. I know I am a bit short on content these last couple of days, but I have a newborn son. And anyway, I will keep doing reviews, I will keep doing videos, and I hope your inspiration may guide you.